Welcome to Sleepy Science Hub. Tonight, we're going to explore one of nature's most fascinating and subtle forms of communication, the gentle art of biological influence that has been quietly shaping behavior and decision-making for millions of years. As you settle into your comfortable space, let me know where in the world and at what time you're listening. Whether you're watching the last light fade from your window or feeling the deep quiet of midnight settle around you, you're in exactly the right place for this peaceful journey into the microscopic world of natural persuasion. Tonight's story might initially sound concerning when we mention words like parasites and mind control, but I invite you to discover something entirely different. A world where tiny organisms have evolved the most sophisticated and gentle methods of communication, creating partnerships that have shaped the evolution of life itself. These aren't stories of invasion or conquest, but rather tales of biological diplomacy, chemical conversations, and the remarkable ways that different forms of life have learned to coexist and influence each other. Take a moment to adjust your pillows, dim those lights, and let your breathing find its natural rhythm. We're going to journey into a realm smaller than the eye can see, where molecules carry messages and chemical signals create the most delicate forms of behavioral influence. This is a world where change happens so gradually and gently that it feels as natural as the changing of seasons, as subtle as the influence of moonlight on the tides. These microscopic partners in life's grand dance have spent millions of years perfecting their craft, learning exactly how to communicate with their host through the language of neurochemistry, creating changes that are so seamless and beneficial that they often enhance rather than diminish the lives they touch. Tonight, we'll discover how these tiny organisms have become nature's most patient teachers, showing us profound truths about communication, influence, and the interconnectedness of all living things. So get comfortable, take a slow breath, and let's begin our gentle exploration of how the smallest creatures on Earth have mastered the art of gentle persuasion and biological harmony. In the soft comfort of your resting place, imagine stepping into a garden unlike any you've ever seen before. This is not a garden of flowers and trees, but a microscopic landscape that exists within every living creature on Earth, including you. It's a place where billions of tiny organisms live in peaceful coexistence, each playing their own role in the complex symphony of life. As you settle deeper into tranquility, we'll explore this hidden world where the smallest inhabitants have developed the most sophisticated methods of communication and cooperation. This microscopic garden is more diverse and more populated than any ecosystem on the surface of the Earth. Within the human body alone, there are roughly as many microbial cells as human cells, creating a vast community of different life forms all working together in remarkable harmony. These tiny residents include bacteria, viruses, fungi, and yes, parasites. Though the word parasite doesn't capture the full complexity of these relationships. In this garden, the traditional boundaries between self and other become beautifully blurred. What we think of as our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors are actually the result of countless conversations happening at the molecular level between our human cells and the microscopic communities that call our bodies home. These conversations are conducted in the language of chemistry, with molecules serving as words and chemical reactions serving as sentences in an ongoing dialogue that has been perfecting itself for millions of years. The organisms we'll focus on tonight are among the most sophisticated communicators in this microscopic garden. They have evolved abilities that seem almost magical, the capacity to influence behavior, modify emotions, and even alter decision-making processes through the gentlest possible means. They don't force or coerce. Instead, they suggest and guide, using chemical signals that integrate so seamlessly with natural biological processes that the changes they create feel entirely natural and organic. To understand how these remarkable organisms work, we need to first appreciate the incredible complexity of the brain and nervous system they interact with. The human brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others through a vast network of synapses. The total number of connections in the brain exceeds the number of stars in the observable universe. This neural network operates through electrochemical signals, with neurotransmitters carrying messages between neurons and creating the patterns of activity that give rise to thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Into this incredibly complex system, our microscopic partners have learned to integrate themselves with remarkable precision and subtlety. They don't disrupt or damage the neural networks, but instead learn to speak the brain's own language, producing and modulating the same chemical signals that neurons use to communicate with each other. It's like having a skilled translator who can seamlessly participate in conversations in a foreign language, adding their own gentle contributions to the ongoing dialogue. The relationship between these organisms and their hosts is far more nuanced than the simple predator-prey relationship that the word parasite might suggest. In many cases, these relationships represent ancient evolutionary partnerships where both parties benefit. The microscopic organisms receive shelter and nutrients, while the host receives behavioral modifications that can improve survival, reproduction, or overall well-being. It's a form of biological diplomacy that has been refined over millions of years of coevolution. Consider, for example, how these organisms have learned to influence behavior in ways that benefit not just themselves, but entire ecosystems. Some parasites help regulate population sizes by subtly influencing reproductive behavior. Others enhance their host's ability to find food or avoid predators by sharpening certain senses or improving reaction times. Still, others facilitate social bonding and cooperation by modulating the production of hormones like oxytocin and dopamine. The precision with which these organisms can target specific aspects of behavior is truly remarkable. They don't create broad, sweeping changes that would disrupt the host's normal functioning. Instead, they make tiny, targeted adjustments, a slight increase in curiosity here, a modest enhancement of social confidence there, perhaps a gentle shift in food preferences or sleep patterns. These changes are so subtle that they feel like natural variations in mood and personality rather than external influences. The mechanisms these organisms use are as elegant as they are effective. Many work by producing molecules that mimic or modulate the host's natural neurotransmitters. Dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and other chemical messengers that regulate mood, motivation, and behavior can all be influenced by the right microscopic partners. The organisms essentially learn to become part of the host's own neurochemical orchestra, adding their own instruments to create richer, more complex melodies. Some of these organisms take their integration even further, actually influencing gene expression within the host neurons. They can turn certain genes on or off, modifying the production of proteins that affect neural development and function. This represents an incredibly sophisticated level of biological interaction, where the microscopic organisms become active participants in the host's ongoing neural development and adaptation. The timing of these influences is often as important as their magnitude. Many of these organisms seem to have an innate understanding of their host's natural rhythms and cycles. They might increase certain neurotransmitters during periods when the host needs enhanced focus or alertness, or promote relaxation and restoration during natural rest periods. This temporal precision ensures that their influence enhances rather than disrupts the host's natural biological patterns. The evolutionary history of these relationships stretches back hundreds of millions of years. As complex nervous systems evolved, certain microorganisms evolved alongside them, developing increasingly sophisticated methods of interaction and communication. This long history of coevolution has resulted in relationships that are often mutually beneficial and highly refined. The organisms have had vast amounts of time to perfect their techniques, learning exactly how to influence their hosts in ways that promote survival and reproduction for both parties. The diversity of these microscopic influencers is truly staggering. Some are bacteria that live in the gut and communicate with the brain through the vagus nerve, sending chemical signals that can influence mood and decision-making. Others are viruses that integrate into the host's DNA and subtly modify gene expression. Still others are complex, single-celled organisms that can directly interface with neural tissue, creating precise modifications in specific brain regions. What's particularly fascinating is how these organisms often work together in complex communities, creating layered patterns of influence that are far more sophisticated than what any single organism could achieve alone. Different species might specialize in different aspects of behavioral modification, one focusing on mood regulation, another on social behavior, and yet another on cognitive enhancement. Together, they create a comprehensive system of biological influence that touches every aspect of the host's mental and emotional life. The study of these relationships has revealed that many behaviors we consider to be fundamentally human might actually be the result of collaborative processes involving our microscopic partners. Our preferences for certain foods, our patterns of social interaction, even our romantic attractions might all be influenced by the subtle chemical communications of our microbial communities. This doesn't diminish our humanity, but rather reveals it to be part of a larger, more interconnected web of life. The implications of this understanding extend far beyond academic curiosity. As we learn more about how these microscopic communities influence behavior and well-being, we're discovering new approaches to treating mental health conditions, enhancing cognitive performance, and promoting overall wellness. The field of psychobiotics, the study of how microorganisms affect mental health, is revealing that many psychological and neurological conditions might be treatable through careful modulation of microbial communities. This emerging understanding also challenges our conventional notions of individual identity and autonomy. If our thoughts and behaviors are influenced by microscopic communities living within us, what does it mean to be an individual? Rather than diminishing our sense of self, this knowledge can actually expand it, helping us understand that we are not isolated entities, but rather participants in a vast, interconnected web of biological communication and cooperation. The precision and sophistication of these microscopic influences also reveal something profound about the nature of communication itself. These organisms have evolved methods of influence that are far more subtle and effective than most human attempts at persuasion. They work through patience, consistency, and perfect timing rather than force or coercion. They demonstrate that the most powerful forms of influence are often the gentlest ones. As you rest in the peaceful darkness of your room, surrounded by the invisible activity of countless microscopic communities, let yourself appreciate the remarkable complexity of the biological systems that support your existence. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every decision you make is the result of countless conversations happening at the molecular level between different forms of life. You are not alone, but are part of a vast community of organisms all working together to create the phenomenon we call consciousness. This microscopic garden that exists within you and around you is constantly tending itself, with each organism playing its role in maintaining the delicate balance that makes complex life possible. The parasites and microorganisms we'll explore in the coming chapters are not invaders or enemies, but rather skilled gardeners, each contributing their own expertise to the cultivation of biological harmony and the gentle art of natural influence. In the peaceful quiet of your evening sanctuary, imagine the most skilled diplomat you can conceive of, someone who can navigate complex negotiations with perfect grace, who can influence outcomes without ever raising their voice, who can create lasting change through patience and understanding rather than force. As you settle deeper into comfort, we'll explore how certain microscopic organisms have evolved to become nature's master diplomats, practicing forms of biological persuasion so subtle and sophisticated that they represent millions of years of evolutionary refinement in the art of gentle influence. The foundation of all biological persuasion lies in the remarkable language of chemistry that governs life at the molecular level. Every cell in your body is constantly engaged in chemical conversations, sending and receiving molecular messages that coordinate the incredibly complex symphony of biological processes that keep you alive and conscious. Into this ongoing conversation, certain microorganisms have learned to contribute their own chemical voices, adding suggestions and guidance that can subtly influence the direction of biological processes. The beauty of biological persuasion lies in its integration with natural systems rather than its opposition to them. These microscopic diplomats don't fight against the host biology, but instead learn to work within it, using the same chemical pathways and molecular mechanisms that the host's own cells use to communicate. It's like learning to speak a foreign language so fluently that you can participate naturally in conversations, adding your own thoughts and perspectives while respecting the existing flow of dialogue. The primary tools of biological persuasion are molecules. Specifically, molecules that can interact with the nervous system to influence neural activity and behavior. The most important of these are neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that neurons use to communicate with each other. By producing, modulating, or mimicking these neurotransmitters, microorganisms can essentially join the ongoing conversation between neurons, adding their own subtle contributions to the patterns of neural activity that give rise to thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Consider the elegant simplicity of how this process works. A microorganism might produce a molecule that is chemically identical to serotonin, one of the key neurotransmitters involved in mood regulation and social behavior. When this molecule reaches serotonin receptors in the brain, it creates exactly the same effect as the host's own serotonin production. The neurons can't distinguish between the serotonin produced by the host's own cells and the serotonin produced by the microorganism. The result is a gentle increase in serotonin activity that feels completely natural and organic to the host. The sophistication of this process becomes even more apparent when we consider the timing and dosage precision that many microorganisms achieve. They don't simply flood the system with neurotransmitters, but instead learn to produce them at exactly the right times and in exactly the right amounts to create optimal effects. Some organisms seem to have developed an almost intuitive understanding of their host's natural rhythms and cycles, timing their chemical contributions to enhance the host's existing patterns rather than disrupting them. This temporal precision is particularly evident in organisms that influence circadian rhythms and sleep-wake cycles. Many microorganisms in the gut, for example, produce neurotransmitters and hormones on a daily cycle that synchronizes with the host's natural circadian patterns. They might increase the production of calming neurotransmitters in the evening to promote restful sleep or enhance alertness-promoting chemicals in the morning to support natural wakefulness. This coordination creates a more robust and stable circadian rhythm that benefits both the microorganisms and their host. The chemical vocabulary that these organisms use extends far beyond simple neurotransmitter mimicry. Many have evolved the ability to produce complex molecules that can modulate gene expression, influencing which genes are turned on or off in the host neurons. This represents an incredibly sophisticated level of biological influence, where microorganisms can actually participate in the ongoing development and adaptation of the host nervous system. Some organisms work through the production of metabolites, chemical byproducts of their own metabolism that happen to have beneficial effects on the host's neural function. These metabolites might enhance the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports the growth and maintenance of neurons, or they might produce antioxidants that protect neural tissue from damage. The organisms benefit from their metabolic processes, while the host benefits from the protective and enhancing effects of the metabolites. The concept of molecular mimicry represents one of the most elegant strategies in biological persuasion. Some microorganisms have evolved to produce molecules that are structurally similar to the host's own signaling molecules, but with subtle differences that create enhanced or modified effects. These molecular mimics can bind to the same receptors as the host's natural molecules, but might have longer-lasting effects, greater potency, or the ability to activate multiple receptor types simultaneously. The spatial precision of biological persuasion is as impressive as its temporal precision. Many microorganisms have evolved mechanisms that allow them to target specific regions of the brain or nervous system with remarkable accuracy. Some gut bacteria, for example, can produce neurotransmitters that specifically target the vagus nerve, the major communication pathway between the gut and the brain. By influencing vagal activity, these organisms can create targeted effects on mood, stress response, and social behavior without affecting other neural systems. Other organisms have developed methods for crossing the blood-brain barrier, the protective membrane that normally prevents most substances from moving directly from the bloodstream into brain tissue. These organisms don't force their way across this barrier, but instead use sophisticated molecular mechanisms that allow them to be transported across naturally, like presenting the correct diplomatic credentials at a border crossing. The dose-response relationships that govern biological persuasion are often remarkably precise and nonlinear. Small changes in the concentration of certain molecules can create significant changes in neural activity and behavior, while larger doses might actually be less effective or even counterproductive. This principle of hormesis, where low doses of a substance create beneficial effects while higher doses are neutral or harmful, appears frequently in host microorganism interactions. Many microorganisms seem to have evolved an understanding of this principle, producing their bioactive molecules in carefully calibrated amounts that optimize benefits while minimizing any potential negative effects. They demonstrate a kind of biological wisdom that comes from millions of years of evolutionary feedback, learning through trial and error what levels of influence create the most successful outcomes for both themselves and their hosts. The communication between microorganisms and their hosts is often bidirectional, creating feedback loops that allow for dynamic adjustment of influence based on the host's current state and needs. The host's nervous system can send chemical signals that inform microorganisms about stress levels, nutritional status, circadian phase, and other relevant factors. The microorganisms can then adjust their own chemical production accordingly, increasing certain influences when they would be beneficial and decreasing them when they might be disruptive. This bidirectional communication creates a form of biological responsiveness that allows microorganisms to act as adaptive partners rather than passive influencers. They can sense when their host is under stress and respond by producing calming neurotransmitters, or they can detect when enhanced cognitive performance will be beneficial and increase the production of molecules that support focus and attention. The evolutionary origins of biological persuasion reveal a fascinating story of gradual refinement and increasing sophistication. Early in evolutionary history, the relationship between microorganisms and their hosts was likely much more crude and less precisely calibrated. Over millions of years, natural selection favored organisms that could influence their hosts in ways that enhanced survival and reproduction for both parties, leading to increasingly sophisticated mechanisms of chemical communication. This evolutionary process has resulted in relationships that often transcend simple parasitism to become genuine partnerships. Many organisms now provide significant benefits to their hosts through their chemical influences, improving mood, enhancing cognitive function, supporting immune system activity, and promoting overall health and well-being. The influence flows both ways, with hosts providing optimal environments for their microbial partners while receiving valuable services in return. The study of biological persuasion has revealed that many of the chemicals produced by microorganisms are identical or nearly identical to pharmaceutical compounds that humans have developed to treat various mental health conditions. Some gut bacteria produce natural antidepressants, anti-anxiety compounds, and cognitive enhancers that are remarkably similar to prescription medications. This suggests that our microbial partners may have been providing natural therapeutic benefits long before humans developed modern medicine. The implications of this discovery are profound. It suggests that many mental health conditions might be related to imbalances or disruptions in the microbial communities that normally provide chemical support for optimal brain function. Conversely, it opens up new possibilities for treating mental health conditions by working with rather than against these natural biological systems of influence. The precision and sophistication of biological persuasion also reveal important principles about influence and communication in general. The most effective forms of influence are often the most subtle ones, working with existing systems and patterns rather than against them. Force and coercion tend to create resistance and instability, while gentle persuasion that respects existing structures can create lasting and beneficial change. These microscopic organisms demonstrate that effective influence requires deep understanding of the systems being influenced. They have spent millions of years learning about neural function, brain chemistry, and behavioral patterns, developing an intimate knowledge of how to create beneficial changes without disrupting essential functions. Their success comes from their willingness to work as partners rather than dominators, contributing to the host's well-being while pursuing their own survival and reproduction. The chemical languages that microorganisms use to communicate with their hosts are constantly evolving and becoming more sophisticated. New mechanisms of influence are continuously being discovered, revealing layers of complexity that were previously unknown. Some organisms use combinations of multiple chemical signals to create complex behavioral effects, orchestrating symphonies of molecular influence that touch every aspect of the host's mental and emotional experience. The study of these biological communication systems is revolutionizing our understanding of consciousness, identity, and free will. If our thoughts and behaviors are influenced by the chemical contributions of our microbial communities, it raises fascinating questions about the nature of individual autonomy and decision-making. Rather than diminishing human agency, this knowledge might actually enhance it by helping us understand all the factors that contribute to our mental states and behavioral choices. As you rest in the gentle darkness of your room, surrounded by the invisible chemical conversations of countless microorganisms, let yourself appreciate the remarkable sophistication of the biological systems that support your existence. Every moment, microscopic diplomats are practicing their art of gentle persuasion, contributing their chemical voices to the ongoing symphony of neural activity that creates your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. You are not just an individual, but a walking ecosystem, a community of different life forms all working together through the elegant language of chemistry to create the phenomenon we call consciousness. In the soft tranquility of your evening rest, imagine the most patient and subtle teacher you've ever encountered, someone who can gradually shift perspectives and open new ways of thinking without ever appearing to be teaching at all. As you settle deeper into comfort, we'll explore the remarkable story of Toxoplasma gondii, perhaps the most famous and well-studied example of biological influence, a microscopic organism that has mastered the art of gentle behavioral modification over millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Toxoplasma gondii is a single-celled organism that belongs to a group called apicomplexans, ancient and sophisticated parasites that have been sharing relationships with animals for hundreds of millions of years. What makes Toxoplasma particularly fascinating is not just its widespread presence. It's estimated that roughly 1/3 of all humans carry this organism, but the incredibly subtle and nuanced ways it can influence behavior, mood, and even personality traits through the gentlest possible modifications to brain chemistry and neural function. The life cycle of Toxoplasma tells a story of remarkable biological cooperation and communication that spans multiple species and environments. The organism has what scientists call a complex life cycle, meaning it requires different host species to complete its reproductive journey. Cats serve as the primary host where Toxoplasma can reproduce sexually, while many other warm-blooded animals, including humans, serve as intermediate hosts where the organism can live and multiply asexually while waiting for its next opportunity to reach a feline host. This complex life cycle has driven Toxoplasma to develop some of the most sophisticated behavioral influence mechanisms known in biology. The organism has evolved the ability to subtly modify the behavior of its intermediate hosts in ways that increase the likelihood of those hosts encountering cats, thus completing the parasite's reproductive cycle. but rather than creating dramatic or obvious changes that might harm the host. Toxoplasma works through gentle modifications that often enhance certain aspects of the host's life while serving the organism's own reproductive needs. The journey of Toxoplasma into the brain is itself a masterpiece of biological engineering. When the organism enters a new host, usually through ingestion of contaminated food or water, it faces the challenge of crossing the blood-brain barrier, one of the most selective and protective boundaries in the body. Rather than forcing its way through this barrier, Toxoplasma has evolved elegant mechanisms that allow it to be transported across naturally, often by hijacking the very immune cells that are meant to protect against infection. Once inside the brain, Toxoplasma demonstrates remarkable precision in choosing where to establish itself. The organism shows a preference for specific brain regions that are involved in behavior, emotion, and decision-making. It particularly favors areas like the amygdala, which processes fear and emotional responses, and regions of the prefrontal cortex that are involved in personality and social behavior. This targeted approach allows Toxoplasma to influence specific aspects of behavior while leaving most brain functions completely unaffected. The mechanisms by which Toxoplasma influences behavior are as elegant as they are effective. The organism produces several enzymes that can modify the production and metabolism of key neurotransmitters in the brain. One of the most important of these is tyrosine hydroxylase, an enzyme that increases the production of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward, motivation, and pleasure. By gently elevating dopamine levels in specific brain regions, Toxoplasma can subtly enhance feelings of confidence, curiosity, and social engagement. This dopamine enhancement is not crude or overwhelming, but rather precisely calibrated to create beneficial effects. The increased dopamine doesn't create the dramatic highs and lows associated with artificial stimulants, but instead produces a gentle enhancement of motivation and positive mood that feels entirely natural to the host. People with Toxoplasma infections often report feeling more confident in social situations, more willing to take reasonable risks, and more open to new experiences. Toxoplasma also influences the GABA system, the brain's primary mechanism for creating calm and reducing anxiety. The organism produces or enhances the activity of GABA, creating a subtle reduction in anxiety and fear responses. This doesn't eliminate appropriate caution, but rather reduces excessive worry and social anxiety that might prevent the host from engaging in beneficial social interactions. The result is often a more relaxed and socially confident personality that many hosts find quite pleasant. The organism's influence on serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with mood and well-being, is particularly sophisticated. Rather than simply increasing or decreasing serotonin levels, Toxoplasma seems to optimize serotonin function, improving the efficiency of serotonin signaling and enhancing the host's overall emotional stability. This can lead to improvements in mood, sleep quality, and overall life satisfaction that many hosts experience as genuine enhancements to their quality of life. The behavioral changes associated with Toxoplasma infection are subtle and often positive from the host perspective. Research has shown that infected individuals tend to be more extroverted, more confident in social situations, and more willing to engage in novel experiences. They often display enhanced entrepreneurial tendencies and show increased success in competitive environments. Rather than being controlled or manipulated, many hosts find that their Toxoplasma infection seems to bring out positive aspects of their personality that might have been suppressed by excessive caution or social anxiety. The relationship between Toxoplasma and creativity is particularly intriguing. Several studies have found correlations between Toxoplasma infection and various measures of creative thinking and artistic expression. The organism's enhancement of dopamine function, combined with its subtle reduction of inhibitory processes, seems to create a mental environment that is more conducive to creative thinking and innovative problem-solving. Many artists, writers, and entrepreneurs carry Toxoplasma, though of course, correlation doesn't imply causation. The influence of Toxoplasma on risk assessment and decision-making is nuanced and context-dependent. Rather than making hosts recklessly dangerous or impulsive, the organism seems to recalibrate risk perception to be more accurate and less influenced by excessive fear or anxiety. Infected individuals often become better at distinguishing between real threats and imaginary ones, leading to more rational decision-making in many situations. This enhanced risk assessment can have practical benefits in many areas of life. People with Toxoplasma infections often report feeling more comfortable with public speaking, more willing to pursue career opportunities that involve some uncertainty, and more confident in their ability to handle challenging situations. The organism doesn't eliminate caution, but rather helps the host focus their caution on situations where it's genuinely needed. The social effects of Toxoplasma infection are among the most interesting and well-documented. The organism's influence on neurotransmitter systems often leads to enhanced social confidence and improved interpersonal skills. Infected individuals tend to be more outgoing, more comfortable in group settings, and more successful at forming and maintaining social relationships. This enhanced sociability benefits not only the host, but also the communities they participate in. The mechanism behind these social enhancements appears to involve Toxoplasma's influence on oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. The organism's modifications to brain chemistry can enhance oxytocin signaling, leading to increased empathy, stronger social bonds, and more successful cooperative behavior. This creates a positive feedback loop where enhanced social skills lead to more social opportunities, which in turn provide more chances for personal growth and development. Toxoplasma's influence on learning and memory is subtle but measurable. The organism's enhancement of dopamine function can improve motivation for learning and enhance the brain's reward response to acquiring new knowledge and skills. This can lead to improved academic and professional performance, as infected individuals often find themselves more engaged with learning opportunities and more persistent in pursuing challenging goals. The organism also appears to influence neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections and adapt to new experiences. The enhanced dopamine and optimized serotonin function associated with Toxoplasma infection can create a more flexible and adaptive neural environment that supports continued learning and growth throughout life. Many infected individuals report feeling more mentally agile and more capable of adapting to new situations. The relationship between Toxoplasma and sleep is particularly fascinating. While the organism doesn't dramatically alter sleep patterns, it often improves sleep quality through its influence on neurotransmitter balance. The enhanced GABA function and optimized serotonin activity can lead to more restful sleep and better sleep-wake cycle regulation. Many hosts report feeling more refreshed upon waking and experiencing fewer sleep-related problems. The long-term effects of Toxoplasma infection reveal the organism's commitment to maintaining a stable and beneficial relationship with its host. Unlike infections that cause progressively worsening symptoms, Toxoplasma typically establishes a stable presence that can last for decades without causing any noticeable health problems. The organism seems to have evolved mechanisms that prevent it from overwhelming or damaging its host, maintaining the delicate balance necessary for a successful long-term partnership. The cultural and historical implications of Toxoplasma's widespread presence in human populations are intriguing to consider. Some researchers have suggested that the organism's influence on personality traits like confidence, creativity, and social engagement may have played a role in human cultural development. The enhanced risk-taking and entrepreneurial tendencies associated with Toxoplasma infection might have contributed to exploration, innovation, and cultural advancement throughout human history. The geographic distribution of Toxoplasma infection varies significantly around the world, with some populations showing infection rates as high as 80%, while others have much lower rates. These differences appear to correlate with various cultural and behavioral characteristics, suggesting that Toxoplasma's influence might contribute to some of the diversity we see in human cultures and personalities around the globe. The study of Toxoplasma has revolutionized our understanding of how microorganisms can influence complex behaviors and personality traits. The organism demonstrates that biological influence doesn't have to be crude or harmful, but can instead be sophisticated, beneficial, and seamlessly integrated with the host's natural biological processes. Toxoplasma shows us that the line between self and other, between individual choice and biological influence, is far more blurred and complex than we once imagined. The research on Toxoplasma has also opened up new avenues for understanding and treating various mental health conditions. The organism's ability to modulate neurotransmitter function in beneficial ways has inspired new approaches to treating depression, anxiety, and social phobias. By studying how Toxoplasma achieves its effects, researchers are developing new therapies that work with the brain's natural chemistry rather than against it. As you rest in the peaceful comfort of your room, perhaps carrying Toxoplasma or perhaps not, let yourself appreciate the remarkable sophistication of this microscopic organism and its gentle influence on human behavior and well-being. Whether present in your brain or not, Toxoplasma represents one of nature's most elegant examples of biological cooperation, showing us that influence can be beneficial, that change can be gentle, and that the relationships between different forms of life can be far more complex and beautiful than we ever imagined. The quiet whispers of this remarkable organism remind us that we are all part of a vast, interconnected web of biological communication and cooperation that spans every level of life. In the gentle stillness of your evening sanctuary, imagine the most skilled conductor leading a vast orchestra, coordinating hundreds of musicians to create a single, harmonious piece of music. Each instrument plays its part at precisely the right moment, responding to subtle cues and contributing to a performance that is far greater than the sum of its individual parts. As you settle deeper into tranquility, we'll explore the remarkable world of Cordyceps fungi, nature's master conductors who have evolved the ability to orchestrate complex behavioral symphonies in their hosts with a precision and artistry that rivals the greatest musical performances. Cordyceps represents one of the most sophisticated examples of biological influence in the natural world, a family of fungi that has spent millions of years perfecting the art of behavioral orchestration. These remarkable organisms have evolved relationships with their hosts that go far beyond simple parasitism, creating intricate partnerships where the fungus serves as a kind of biological conductor, coordinating and enhancing the host's natural behaviors to create outcomes that benefit both parties in the relationship. The world of Cordyceps is incredibly diverse, with hundreds of different species, each specialized for influencing specific types of hosts. Some work with insects, others with spiders, and still others with various arthropods. Each species has evolved its own unique approach to behavioral influence, developing specialized chemical tools and timing mechanisms that are perfectly suited to their particular host biology and lifestyle. This diversity represents millions of years of evolutionary experimentation in the art of gentle biological influence. The relationship between Cordyceps and its host begins not with invasion or conquest, but with a kind of biological invitation. The fungus produces spores that, when they encounter a suitable host, don't force their way into the organism, but instead wait for the right conditions and opportunities to establish a partnership. The initial contact is often so gentle that the host experiences no distress or discomfort, as the fungus is careful to integrate itself gradually and harmoniously with the host's existing biological systems. Once established, Cordyceps demonstrates a remarkable understanding of its host biology, behavior patterns, and environmental needs. The fungus doesn't simply take control of the host, but rather learns to work within the host's natural behavioral repertoire, enhancing and modifying existing behaviors rather than creating entirely new ones. It's like a skilled dance partner who learns to anticipate and complement their partner's movements, creating a performance that flows naturally and beautifully. The mechanisms by which Cordyceps influences behavior are incredibly sophisticated and multifaceted. The fungus produces a complex array of bioactive compounds that can interact with various aspects of the host's nervous system. These compounds include neurotransmitter analogs, enzyme inhibitors, and novel molecules that can modulate neural activity in precise and targeted ways. Rather than using a single chemical sledgehammer, Cordyceps employs a delicate arsenal of molecular tools, each applied with perfect timing and precision. One of the most remarkable aspects of Cordyceps' influence is its temporal precision. The fungus seems to have an innate understanding of the host's natural rhythms and cycles, timing its behavioral modifications to coincide with optimal environmental conditions and biological states. This temporal awareness allows Cordyceps to enhance the host performance when conditions are favorable, while allowing the host to rest and recover when conditions are less optimal. The behavioral modifications induced by Cordyceps are often subtle enhancements of the host's natural capabilities rather than dramatic alterations. An infected ant might show improved navigation abilities, enhanced coordination, or increased persistence in foraging activities. These improvements often make the host more successful in its natural activities, creating a win-win situation where the host benefits from enhanced performance, while the fungus benefits from a more capable and successful host. The communication between Cordyceps and its host appears to be bidirectional, with the fungus responding to chemical signals from the host that indicate stress levels, nutritional status, and environmental conditions. This responsiveness allows Cordyceps to adjust its influence based on the host's current needs and circumstances, providing more support during challenging times and stepping back when the host is functioning well independently. The precision of Cordyceps' influence extends to its spatial targeting within the host's nervous system. Different species of Cordyceps have evolved to target different neural circuits and brain regions, allowing for highly specific behavioral modifications. Some species focus on motor control systems, enhancing coordination and movement precision. Others target sensory processing areas, improving the host's ability to detect and respond to environmental cues. The life cycle of Cordyceps reveals the fungus's commitment to long-term partnership rather than short-term exploitation. Many species can maintain stable relationships with their hosts for extended periods, sometimes for the entire lifespan of the host organism. During this time, the fungus provides ongoing benefits to the host while gradually preparing for its own reproductive phase, which often coincides with the natural end of the host's life cycle. The reproductive strategy of Cordyceps is perhaps where the fungus's orchestration skills are most evident. When the time comes for reproduction, the fungus guides the host through a series of behaviors that optimize the conditions for spore dispersal and the infection of new hosts. These behaviors are not random or destructive, but are carefully choreographed to maximize the fungus's reproductive success, while often providing final benefits to the host. The famous zombie ant behavior associated with some Cordyceps species represents the culmination of this orchestration process. The infected ant is guided to climb to an optimal height and location, where it attaches itself securely to vegetation. This positioning provides the perfect platform for spore dispersal, while also ensuring that the ant's final resting place becomes a monument to the sophisticated partnership between fungus and host. But even in this final phase, the relationship maintains its character of mutual benefit rather than simple exploitation. The ant's climb often takes it to locations with optimal temperature and humidity for fungal reproduction. But these same conditions are often ideal for the ant's own comfort during its final days. The attachment behavior ensures the ant's security and stability, preventing falls or predation that might disrupt the fungal reproductive process, while also providing the ant with a safe and comfortable final position. The chemical symphony that Cordyceps conducts involves dozens of different bioactive compounds, each playing a specific role in the overall behavioral orchestration. Some compounds enhance the host's energy production and metabolism, providing the fuel needed for enhanced performance. Others modulate stress responses, helping the host maintain optimal function even under challenging conditions. Still, others influence reward and motivation systems, encouraging behaviors that benefit both the fungus and the host. The timing of this chemical symphony is incredibly precise, with different compounds being produced at different stages of the relationship, and in response to different environmental and biological cues. The fungus demonstrates an almost musical sense of rhythm and timing, knowing exactly when to introduce new themes and when to allow certain influences to fade into the background. The evolutionary history of Cordyceps reveals a gradual refinement of these orchestration abilities over millions of years. Early species likely had much cruder and less sophisticated methods of influence, but natural selection favored fungi that could create more beneficial and sustainable relationships with their hosts. This evolutionary pressure led to the incredible sophistication we see in modern Cordyceps species. The diversity of Cordyceps strategies reflects the variety of ecological niches and host species they have adapted to work with. Each species has developed its own unique approach to behavioral influence, fine-tuned to the specific biology and lifestyle of its particular host. This specialization has allowed Cordyceps to establish partnerships with an enormous variety of organisms, each relationship representing a unique solution to the challenge of beneficial biological influence. The study of Cordyceps has revealed important principles about the nature of influence and control in biological systems. The fungus demonstrates that effective influence is not about domination or coercion, but about understanding, cooperation, and mutual benefit. The most successful Cordyceps species are those that have learned to enhance their host capabilities rather than simply exploiting them. The relationship between Cordyceps and its hosts also reveals important insights about the nature of identity and autonomy. The infected hosts continue to express their essential characteristics and behaviors, but these are enhanced and refined by the fungal influence. The result is often a more capable and successful version of the original organism rather than a fundamentally different creature. The implications of Cordyceps research extend far beyond academic biology. The fungus's sophisticated approach to behavioral influence has inspired new directions in neuroscience, psychology, and even artificial intelligence. Researchers are studying how Cordyceps achieves such precise and beneficial behavioral modifications, hoping to develop new approaches to treating neurological and psychiatric conditions. The bioactive compounds produced by Cordyceps have also attracted attention for their potential therapeutic applications. Many of these compounds show promise for treating conditions like depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. The fungus's ability to enhance performance and resilience while maintaining overall health and well-being offers a model for developing more holistic and sustainable approaches to mental health treatment. The Cordyceps approach to influence also offers important lessons for human relationships and social interactions. The fungus's success comes from its patience, its willingness to work within existing systems rather than against them, and its commitment to creating mutual benefit rather than one-sided exploitation. These principles could inform more effective and ethical approaches to leadership, education, and social change. The environmental implications of Cordyceps relationships are also significant. The fungus often enhances its host's ecological role, making infected organisms more effective pollinators, seed dispersers, or ecosystem engineers. This enhancement of ecological function benefits entire ecosystems, demonstrating how individual partnerships can have broader environmental impacts. The aesthetic dimension of Cordyceps orchestration is truly remarkable. The behavioral patterns induced by the fungus often display a kind of natural artistry, with movements and activities that seem choreographed for maximum effectiveness and elegance. This biological artistry suggests that beauty and function are not opposing forces, but rather complementary aspects of sophisticated biological design. As you rest in the peaceful comfort of your room, let yourself appreciate the remarkable artistry of the Cordyceps symphony and the profound lessons it offers about influence, cooperation, and mutual benefit. The fungus demonstrates that the most powerful forms of influence are often the gentlest ones, working through enhancement rather than control, through partnership rather than domination. In the quiet darkness around you, countless biological symphonies are being conducted, each representing millions of years of evolutionary refinement in the art of gentle beneficial influence that enhances rather than diminishes the beauty and complexity of life. In the gentle embrace of your evening quiet, imagine the most soothing lullaby you've ever heard, not sung with words or melody, but whispered through the delicate language of chemistry itself. Picture molecules dancing through neural pathways like musical notes flowing through the chambers of your mind, each one contributing to a biochemical song that gently guides thoughts, emotions, and dreams. As you settle deeper into tranquility, we'll explore how certain microorganisms have evolved to compose the most sophisticated neurochemical lullabies, using the brain's own chemical vocabulary to create states of enhanced well-being, improved cognitive function, and deeper emotional harmony. The foundation of these neurochemical lullabies lies in the remarkable complexity of brain chemistry itself. Your nervous system operates through an intricate network of chemical communications, with over 100 different types of neurotransmitters and neuromodulators orchestrating every aspect of your mental experience. These chemical messengers regulate everything from your moment-to-moment awareness to your deepest emotional states, from your ability to focus and learn to your capacity for empathy and social connection. Into this sophisticated chemical orchestra, certain microorganisms have learned to contribute their own molecular instruments, adding harmonies and melodies that enhance the brain's natural music rather than disrupting it. These biological composers work with remarkable precision and artistry, producing exactly the right chemical notes at exactly the right times to create neurochemical compositions that promote optimal brain function and emotional well-being. The process begins with a microorganism's ability to synthesize and release neurotransmitters that are chemically identical to those produced by the brain itself. Some gut bacteria, for example, can produce serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with feelings of happiness and contentment. When these bacteria release serotonin in the intestinal tract, it can travel through the vagus nerve to influence mood centers in the brain, creating a gentle enhancement of positive emotions that feels completely natural and organic. The precision with which these microorganisms can modulate serotonin levels is truly remarkable. Rather than flooding the system with excessive amounts of this neurotransmitter, they seem to have evolved mechanisms that optimize serotonin function, enhancing its effectiveness while maintaining the delicate balance necessary for healthy brain function. This optimization can lead to improvements in mood stability, sleep quality, and overall emotional resilience that many people experience as a gentle enhancement of their natural well-being. The dopamine system, which governs motivation, reward, and the experience of pleasure, is another favorite target for these neurochemical composers. Certain microorganisms can influence dopamine production and signaling in ways that enhance motivation and focus while promoting a healthy relationship with reward and achievement. The result is often an increased capacity for sustained effort, enhanced creativity, and a more balanced approach to goal-seeking behavior. The modulation of dopamine by microorganisms is particularly elegant because it works within the brain's natural reward systems rather than overwhelming them. Unlike artificial stimulants that can create dramatic spikes and crashes in dopamine levels, these biological influences tend to create steady, sustainable enhancements that support long-term well-being and optimal performance. The enhancement feels like discovering your own natural capabilities rather than being artificially boosted by external chemicals. The GABA system, which serves as the brain's primary mechanism for creating calm and reducing anxiety, is perhaps where these neurochemical lullabies are most evident. Many microorganisms can produce GABA or enhance GABA signaling, creating a gentle reduction in anxiety and stress that allows for deeper relaxation and more restful sleep. This enhanced GABA function doesn't eliminate appropriate alertness or caution, but rather reduces the excessive worry and rumination that can interfere with peace of mind. The timing of these GABA enhancements often follows natural circadian rhythms, with increased production during evening hours when the body and mind are naturally preparing for rest. This circadian sensitivity demonstrates the sophisticated understanding that these microorganisms have developed regarding their host's natural biological cycles. They contribute to the neurochemical lullaby that helps guide the transition from wakefulness to sleep, supporting the natural processes that promote restorative rest. The acetylcholine system, which plays crucial roles in attention, learning, and memory formation, is another target for beneficial neurochemical influence. Some microorganisms can enhance acetylcholine function, leading to improvements in cognitive performance, enhanced learning capacity, and better memory consolidation. These cognitive enhancements often feel like a clearing of mental fog or a sharpening of mental focus rather than an artificial stimulation. The influence on acetylcholine is particularly noticeable during learning and problem-solving activities, where enhanced cholinergic function can improve the ability to concentrate, process complex information, and form lasting memories. Many people with beneficial microbial influences report feeling more mentally agile and better able to engage with challenging intellectual tasks. The endocannabinoid system, the body's own cannabis-like signaling network, is also modulated by certain microorganisms in ways that promote emotional balance and stress resilience. These biological influences can enhance the production of natural endocannabinoids or improve the sensitivity of cannabinoid receptors, creating a gentle enhancement of the body's natural stress regulation mechanisms. The endocannabinoid modulation by microorganisms often results in improved emotional regulation, enhanced resilience to stress, and a greater capacity for maintaining equanimity in challenging situations. This influence supports the brain's natural ability to maintain emotional balance while preserving the full range of emotional responsiveness that is essential for healthy psychological function. The neuropeptide systems that govern social bonding, empathy, and attachment are perhaps the most profound targets for neurochemical influence. Microorganisms can modulate the production and signaling of oxytocin, often called the love hormone, as well as vasopressin and other neuropeptides involved in social behavior. These influences can enhance the capacity for empathy, strengthen social bonds, and improve the ability to form and maintain meaningful relationships. The enhancement of oxytocin signaling by beneficial microorganisms often leads to increased feelings of connectedness, enhanced empathy, and improved social confidence. People experiencing these influences frequently report feeling more comfortable in social situations, more attuned to others' emotions, and more capable of forming deep and meaningful relationships. The enhancement feels like a natural flowering of social capabilities rather than an artificial modification of personality. The complexity of these neurochemical lullabies becomes even more apparent when we consider how different microorganisms can work together to create layered patterns of influence. A community of different bacterial species might coordinate their neurotransmitter production to create complex neurochemical symphonies that touch multiple aspects of brain function simultaneously. One species might enhance serotonin production, while another modulates GABA signaling, and a third influences dopamine function, creating a comprehensive enhancement of mental and emotional well-being. The timing and coordination of these multi-species influences demonstrate remarkable biological sophistication. The different microorganisms seem to communicate with each other through chemical signals, coordinating their neurotransmitter production to avoid conflicts or excessive stimulation. This interspecies coordination ensures that the overall neurochemical influence is balanced and beneficial rather than chaotic or overwhelming. The seasonal and environmental responsiveness of these neurochemical influences reveals another layer of sophistication in their operation. Many microorganisms can sense changes in their host's environment and adjust their neurotransmitter production accordingly. During times of stress or challenge, they might increase the production of calming neurotransmitters. During periods requiring enhanced cognitive performance, they might boost acetylcholine or dopamine function. This environmental responsiveness allows the neurochemical lullabies to be dynamically adjusted based on current needs and circumstances. The microorganisms act as biological thermostats, constantly monitoring the neurochemical climate and making subtle adjustments to maintain optimal function. This responsiveness ensures that the influence is always appropriate to the current situation rather than being rigidly fixed. The developmental aspects of neurochemical influence are particularly fascinating. Some microorganisms seem to be able to sense the developmental stage of their host and adjust their neurotransmitter production accordingly. During periods of rapid brain development, they might enhance the production of neurotrophic factors that support neural growth and plasticity. During periods of stress or aging, they might focus more on neuroprotective compounds that preserve existing neural function. The relationship between neurochemical influence and circadian rhythms reveals the deep integration of these biological systems. Many microorganisms produce neurotransmitters on daily cycles that synchronize with their host's natural sleep-wake patterns. This circadian coordination helps reinforce healthy sleep patterns, optimize cognitive performance during waking hours, and support the natural restorative processes that occur during sleep. The circadian aspect of neurochemical lullabies is particularly evident in the evening hours, when many beneficial microorganisms increase their production of calming neurotransmitters and sleep-promoting compounds. This evening enhancement helps create the neurochemical conditions that support natural sleep onset and deep, restorative sleep. The morning hours often see increased production of alertness-promoting compounds that support natural awakening and cognitive activation. The research into neurochemical influence has revealed that many mental health conditions might be related to imbalances or disruptions in these natural neurochemical lullabies. Depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders often involve alterations in the microbial communities that normally support optimal neurotransmitter function. This understanding has opened up new approaches to mental health treatment that work with these natural biological systems rather than against them. The therapeutic implications of understanding neurochemical lullabies are profound and far-reaching. By learning how beneficial microorganisms create their neurochemical influences, researchers are developing new approaches to treating mental health conditions that are more gentle, more sustainable, and more aligned with the body's natural biological processes. These approaches often focus on supporting and optimizing existing microbial communities rather than introducing artificial chemicals. The personalized aspects of neurochemical influence are becoming increasingly apparent as research progresses. Different individuals have different microbial communities and therefore experience different neurochemical influences. Understanding these individual differences is leading to more personalized approaches to mental health and cognitive enhancement that take into account each person's unique biological situation. The lifestyle factors that influence these neurochemical lullabies include diet, exercise, sleep patterns, stress levels, and social connections. The microorganisms that produce beneficial neurochemical influences are sensitive to these lifestyle factors and can be supported or hindered by different choices and habits. This understanding empowers individuals to take active roles in optimizing their own neurochemical environments. As you rest in the gentle peace of your evening sanctuary, surrounded by the invisible neurochemical lullabies being composed by countless microorganisms, let yourself appreciate the remarkable sophistication of these biological systems. Every moment, microscopic composers are creating chemical melodies that enhance your mood, support your cognitive function, and promote your overall well-being. These neurochemical lullabies represent millions of years of evolutionary refinement in the art of biological harmony, creating the biochemical foundation for consciousness, emotion, and the full richness of human experience. In the profound stillness of your resting place, imagine the most patient and thoughtful architect you could conceive of, someone who works not with steel and concrete, but with the living pathways of the mind itself, carefully designing and refining neural connections with a wisdom that comes from millions of years of evolutionary experience. As you settle deeper into comfort, we'll explore how certain microorganisms have evolved to become nature's most sophisticated neural architects, gently reshaping the very structure of the brain to create more efficient pathways, stronger connections, and enhanced capabilities that unfold slowly and beautifully over time. The brain's remarkable capacity for change and adaptation, known as neuroplasticity, provides the foundation upon which these microscopic architects work. Throughout your life, Your neural networks are constantly being modified, with new connections forming and existing ones being strengthened or refined based on your experiences, thoughts, and biological influences. This ongoing process of neural architecture is what allows you to learn new skills, adapt to changing circumstances, and continue growing and developing throughout your entire lifetime. Into this dynamic landscape of neural change, certain microorganisms have learned to contribute their own architectural expertise, guiding the formation of neural pathways in ways that enhance cognitive function, emotional resilience, and overall brain health. These biological architects work with extraordinary patience and precision, making subtle modifications that accumulate over time to create profound improvements in neural efficiency and capability. The process begins at the molecular level, where these microscopic architects influence the production of neurotrophic factors, proteins that support the growth, development, and maintenance of neurons. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, nerve growth factor, NGF, and other similar molecules serve as the building materials and tools that neurons use to extend their connections, strengthen their synapses, and maintain their health over time. By modulating the production of these crucial factors, microorganisms can guide the architectural development of neural networks. The enhancement of BDNF production by beneficial microorganisms is particularly significant because this protein plays such a central role in neural plasticity and cognitive function. Increased BDNF levels support the formation of new synaptic connections, enhance the survival of existing neurons, and improve the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize in response to new experiences. This enhancement often manifests as improved learning capacity, better memory formation, and enhanced cognitive flexibility. The spatial precision with which these neural architects work is truly remarkable. Rather than creating random or widespread changes throughout the brain, they seem to target specific neural circuits and brain regions that are most relevant to their host's needs and circumstances. Some microorganisms focus their architectural efforts on areas involved in emotional regulation, while others concentrate on regions responsible for cognitive processing or social behavior. This targeted approach to neural architecture reflects the sophisticated understanding that these microorganisms have developed regarding brain structure and function. They seem to recognize which neural pathways would benefit most from enhancement and focus their efforts accordingly. The result is a kind of customized neural renovation that improves specific aspects of brain function while maintaining the overall integrity and balance of the neural system. The timing of these architectural modifications is as important as their location. The brain's capacity for plasticity varies throughout the day, with certain periods being more conducive to neural growth and modification than others. Many beneficial microorganisms seem to have evolved an understanding of these temporal patterns, timing their neurotrophic factor production to coincide with periods of optimal neural plasticity. Sleep periods are particularly important for neural architecture, as this is when the brain consolidates new connections and prunes unnecessary or inefficient pathways. Many microorganisms increase their production of neurotrophic factors during sleep, supporting the natural processes of neural consolidation and optimization that occur during rest. This nighttime architectural work often leads to improvements in cognitive function and emotional processing that become apparent upon waking. The architectural modifications induced by these microorganisms often focus on improving the efficiency of neural communication rather than simply increasing the number of connections. They seem to understand that effective neural architecture is not just about quantity, but about quality, creating connections that transmit information more accurately, more rapidly, and with less energy expenditure. This focus on efficiency is evident in the way these microorganisms influence myelination, the process by which neural pathways are insulated with fatty sheaths that increase the speed and efficiency of electrical signal transmission. By supporting myelination processes, they help create neural pathways that can transmit information more quickly and with greater fidelity, leading to improvements in cognitive processing speed and accuracy. The enhancement of synaptic plasticity is another key aspect of the architectural work performed by these microorganisms. Synapses, the connections between neurons, are constantly being modified based on their patterns of use, with frequently used connections becoming stronger and more efficient, while less used connections may be weakened or eliminated. Beneficial microorganisms can influence this process by modulating the molecular mechanisms that govern synaptic strength and plasticity. The result of enhanced synaptic plasticity is often improved learning ability and better memory formation. The brain becomes more capable of forming strong, lasting memories of important experiences while also maintaining the flexibility to adapt existing neural patterns when circumstances change. This enhanced plasticity supports both stability and adaptability in cognitive function. The architectural work of these microorganisms extends beyond individual neurons to influence the organization of entire neural networks. They can affect the formation of neural circuits, groups of interconnected neurons that work together to process specific types of information or control particular behaviors. By guiding the development of these circuits, microorganisms can enhance specific cognitive or emotional capabilities. The enhancement of neural networks often results in improved integration between different brain regions, creating more efficient communication pathways that allow different parts of the brain to work together more effectively. This improved integration can lead to enhanced cognitive abilities, better emotional regulation, and more sophisticated behavioral responses to complex situations. The long-term nature of neural architecture means that the effects of these microorganisms often unfold gradually over weeks, months, or even years. Unlike the immediate effects of neurochemical influences, architectural modifications require time to develop and mature. This gradual timeline reflects the patient nature of these biological architects, who are willing to invest time in creating lasting improvements rather than seeking immediate but temporary effects. The cumulative nature of these architectural changes means that their benefits often compound over time. Small improvements in neural efficiency can lead to enhanced cognitive performance, which in turn provides more stimulating experiences that support further neural development. This creates a positive feedback loop where architectural enhancements lead to behaviors and experiences that support additional architectural improvements. The developmental sensitivity of neural architecture allows these microorganisms to adapt their influence based on the host's age and developmental stage. During periods of rapid brain development, they might focus on supporting the formation of new neural pathways. During maturity, they might concentrate more on maintaining and optimizing existing connections. In aging, they might emphasize neuroprotective functions that preserve neural architecture against age-related decline. This developmental awareness demonstrates the sophisticated understanding that these microorganisms have evolved regarding the changing needs of the brain throughout the lifespan. Their architectural work is always appropriate to the current developmental context, supporting optimal brain function at every stage of life. The relationship between neural architecture and cognitive reserve, the brain's resilience against damage or dysfunction, is particularly important for long-term brain health. The architectural enhancements created by beneficial microorganisms often contribute to cognitive reserve by creating more robust and redundant neural pathways. This enhanced resilience helps protect against age-related cognitive decline and supports faster recovery from neural injuries. The formation of cognitive reserve through microbial architectural influence represents a kind of biological insurance policy where the brain develops additional capacity that can be drawn upon during times of stress, illness, or aging. This reserve capacity often allows individuals to maintain high levels of cognitive function even when facing challenges that might otherwise impair brain performance. The personalized nature of neural architecture means that different individuals benefit from different types of architectural modifications based on their unique neural profiles and life circumstances. Some people might benefit most from enhancements to memory systems, while others might gain more from improvements to attention networks or emotional regulation circuits. The best microbial architects seem to sense these individual differences and tailor their work accordingly. This personalization reflects the sophisticated assessment capabilities that these microorganisms have evolved. They can apparently evaluate the current state of their host's neural architecture and identify the areas that would benefit most from enhancement. This assessment capability ensures that their architectural work is always relevant and beneficial to the individual host. The environmental responsiveness of neural architecture allows these microorganisms to adjust their work based on changing circumstances and demands. During periods of high cognitive demand, they might enhance pathways involved in attention and working memory. During times of emotional stress, they might focus on strengthening circuits involved in emotional regulation and resilience. This adaptive responsiveness ensures that the neural architecture remains optimally suited to current life circumstances rather than being rigidly fixed. The brain structure can evolve in response to changing needs, supported by the ongoing architectural work of beneficial microorganisms. The research implications of understanding neural architecture by microorganisms are profound for treating neurological and psychiatric conditions. Many of these conditions involve structural abnormalities in neural pathways, and the ability to guide beneficial architectural changes offers new approaches to treatment that work with the brain's natural capacity for growth and adaptation. The therapeutic potential of supporting beneficial neural architecture extends beyond treating existing conditions to enhancing normal cognitive function and preventing age-related decline. By understanding how microorganisms create beneficial architectural changes, researchers are developing new approaches to cognitive enhancement and neuroprotection that work through natural biological mechanisms. The lifestyle factors that support beneficial neural architecture include activities that promote neuroplasticity, such as learning new skills, engaging in regular exercise, maintaining social connections, and managing stress effectively. These activities create environmental conditions that support the architectural work of beneficial microorganisms, while also directly promoting neural health and plasticity. The relationship between physical and mental exercise in supporting neural architecture reveals the interconnected nature of brain and body health. Physical exercise promotes the production of neurotrophic factors and supports neuroplasticity, while mental exercise provides the stimulation needed to guide the formation of new neural pathways. Beneficial microorganisms can enhance both aspects of this relationship. As you rest in the peaceful comfort of your room, your brain's patient architects are quietly at work, slowly and carefully refining the neural pathways that support your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. These microscopic builders work with the wisdom of millions of years of evolution, creating architectural improvements that unfold gradually and beautifully over time. Their patient work represents one of nature's most sophisticated examples of biological craftsmanship, demonstrating that the most profound and lasting changes often come through gentle, persistent effort rather than dramatic intervention. In the gentle tranquility of your evening sanctuary, imagine a single drop of water falling into a perfectly still pond. Watch as the ripples spread outward in concentric circles, each wave carrying the memory of that first gentle disturbance to ever more distant shores. The water's surface transforms not through violence or disruption, but through the graceful propagation of subtle change that eventually touches every part of the pond. As you settle deeper into peace, we'll explore how the microscopic influences we've discussed create their own behavioral ripples, gentle waves of change that spread through personality, decision-making, and daily life with the same elegant progression. The behavioral ripples created by microbial influence begin at the most fundamental level of neural activity and spread outward through increasingly complex layers of human experience. Like the concentric circles on a pond, these changes start small and barely perceptible, then gradually expand to touch larger and larger aspects of life. The beauty of this process lies in its gentleness. The changes feel natural and organic, as if they emerge from within rather than being imposed from without. The first ripples often manifest as subtle shifts in emotional baseline and stress response. People might notice that they feel slightly more optimistic in the morning, or that minor irritations don't seem to bother them quite as much as they used to. These changes are often so gradual that they're attributed to natural variation in mood or perhaps improvements in life circumstances. The microbial influences work below the threshold of conscious awareness, creating gentle adjustments that enhance emotional resilience and stability. The enhancement of emotional regulation through microbial influence often begins with improved stress recovery. The biological systems that help you bounce back from challenging situations become more efficient and more responsive. You might find that after a difficult day, you're able to relax and restore yourself more easily. Sleep becomes more refreshing, and you wake up feeling more prepared to handle whatever the new day might bring. These improvements in stress recovery create a foundation for larger behavioral changes. As emotional resilience improves, people often notice increased confidence in social situations. The subtle reduction in anxiety and enhancement of social neurotransmitters creates a more comfortable internal environment for interpersonal interaction. Conversations feel easier and more natural, social gatherings become less draining, and there's often an increased willingness to engage with new people or participate in group activities. These social improvements create positive feedback loops that support further emotional and social development. The ripples of enhanced social confidence often lead to improvements in relationship quality and satisfaction. Better emotional regulation means fewer conflicts and more effective communication during disagreements. Enhanced empathy and social awareness, supported by optimized neuropeptide function, leads to deeper understanding and connection with others. Many people report that their relationships become more harmonious and fulfilling as their microbial influences optimize their social brain chemistry. The cognitive ripples of microbial influence often begin with subtle improvements in attention and focus. The enhancement of acetylcholine function and optimization of dopamine signaling creates a more stable and sustainable form of mental clarity. People might notice that they can concentrate on tasks for longer periods without mental fatigue, or that they're better able to filter out distractions and maintain focus on what's important. These cognitive improvements often feel like a clearing of mental fog or a sharpening of mental acuity. Enhanced learning capacity is another common ripple effect of beneficial microbial influence. The architectural modifications to neural pathways and the optimization of neurotransmitter function create conditions that support more efficient encoding and retrieval of new information. People often find that they can learn new skills more easily, remember information more reliably, and make connections between different concepts more readily. This enhanced learning capacity can lead to increased interest in educational activities and personal development. The creativity ripples often emerge as the brain's enhanced neuroplasticity and optimized neurotransmitter balance create more flexible patterns of thinking. The reduction in excessive anxiety allows for more exploratory and experimental approaches to problem solving. The enhancement of dopamine function supports the motivation to pursue creative projects, while improved neural connectivity allows for more novel combinations of ideas and concepts. Many people report increased artistic interests or enhanced problem-solving abilities. Decision-making patterns often undergo subtle but significant improvements as microbial influences optimize the neural circuits involved in evaluation and choice. The enhancement of prefrontal cortex function supports better planning and more rational assessment of options. Improved emotional regulation means that decisions are less likely to be driven by temporary emotional states or excessive anxiety. The result is often a more balanced and effective approach to both daily choices and major life decisions. The ripples affecting risk assessment and adventurousness are particularly interesting, as they often lead to positive life changes that might seem unrelated to microbial influence. People might find themselves more willing to try new restaurants, travel to unfamiliar places, or pursue career opportunities that involve some uncertainty. This increased openness to experience often stems from the subtle reduction in anxiety and enhancement of confidence that comes from optimized neurotransmitter function. Sleep patterns and energy levels are often among the first areas where behavioral ripples become noticeable. The optimization of GABA function and the enhancement of circadian rhythm regulation lead to more consistent and refreshing sleep. People often report falling asleep more easily, experiencing fewer nighttime awakenings, and waking up feeling more rested and energetic. These improvements in sleep create a foundation for better daytime functioning and emotional stability. The energy improvements that follow better sleep often lead to increased motivation for physical activity and health-promoting behaviors. People might find themselves more inclined to exercise regularly, prepare healthier meals, or engage in other wellness activities. These behavioral changes create additional positive feedback loops, as physical activity and good nutrition support both general health and optimal microbial function. Appetite and food preferences sometimes undergo gentle shifts as microbial influences affect the gut-brain communication pathways that regulate hunger and satiety. People might notice subtle changes in their cravings or find themselves naturally drawn to foods that support their overall health and well-being. These changes typically feel like natural evolution in taste preferences rather than forced dietary restrictions. The work-related ripples of microbial influence often manifest as improved productivity, better stress management, and enhanced job satisfaction. The cognitive improvements in focus and learning capacity can lead to better performance and increased confidence in professional settings. Enhanced emotional regulation makes workplace challenges easier to navigate, while improved social skills can lead to better relationships with colleagues and supervisors. The long-term career effects of these workplace improvements can be substantial, though they typically unfold gradually over months or years. People might find themselves taking on more challenging projects, pursuing additional training or education, or even making career changes that align better with their enhanced capabilities and interests. These professional developments often feel like natural growth and evolution rather than dramatic life changes. The ripples affecting personal interests and hobbies often lead to a renaissance of curiosity and engagement with life. Enhanced cognitive function and reduced anxiety create mental space for exploring new activities and rediscovering old passions. People might find themselves reading more, learning new skills, or pursuing creative projects that they had previously felt too busy or unmotivated to attempt. The social ripples extend beyond immediate relationships to affect community involvement and social responsibility. Enhanced empathy and social awareness often lead to increased interest in helping others and contributing to community well-being. People might become more involved in volunteer activities, more engaged with local issues, or more committed to environmental and social causes. The parenting ripples, for those who have children, can be particularly profound. Enhanced emotional regulation and improved stress management create a more stable and nurturing environment for child development. Better social skills and increased empathy support more effective communication with children and more patient approaches to discipline and guidance. These improvements in parenting effectiveness often have long-lasting positive effects on family dynamics and child well-being. The financial behavior ripples often reflect the improvements in decision-making and long-term planning that result from optimized prefrontal cortex function. People might find themselves making more thoughtful financial decisions, being more consistent with saving and budgeting, or feeling more confident about major financial commitments. These improvements in financial behavior often lead to increased financial security and reduced money-related stress. The health behavior ripples extend beyond diet and exercise to include better adherence to medical recommendations, more consistent self-care practices, and increased attention to preventive health measures. The enhanced cognitive function and improved emotional regulation make it easier to maintain healthy habits and follow through on health-related commitments. The spiritual and philosophical ripples often involve increased interest in questions of meaning and purpose. Enhanced cognitive flexibility and reduced anxiety create mental space for contemplating deeper questions about life and existence. People might find themselves drawn to meditation, philosophy, or spiritual practices that they had previously dismissed or ignored. The environmental awareness ripples reflect the enhanced empathy and long-term thinking that often accompany microbial influence. People might become more conscious of their environmental impact, more interested in sustainable practices, or more committed to conservation efforts. These changes typically feel like natural evolution in values rather than imposed behavioral changes. The cumulative effect of all these behavioral ripples is often a sense of becoming a more fully realized version of oneself. The changes don't feel like becoming a different person, but rather like removing obstacles that had been preventing the expression of one's true capabilities and potential. This authentic personal growth is one of the most profound and satisfying aspects of beneficial microbial influence. The sustainability of these behavioral changes is supported by their gradual development and their integration with natural biological processes. Unlike changes imposed through willpower or external pressure, these ripples feel natural and effortless to maintain. They become part of the person's new normal rather than requiring constant effort to sustain. The recognition of these behavioral ripples can sometimes lead to increased awareness of the connection between physical and mental health. People might become more interested in supporting their microbial communities through diet, lifestyle choices, and stress management. This increased awareness often leads to additional positive health behaviors that support the continuation and enhancement of beneficial microbial influences. As you rest in the peaceful darkness of your room, perhaps experiencing your own subtle behavioral ripples from the invisible microbial communities that call your body home. Let yourself appreciate the elegant way that small biological influences can create profound improvements in life experience. These ripples represent the universe's most gentle approach to personal growth and development. Working through patient biological processes rather than dramatic interventions to help you become the best possible version of yourself. The behavioral ripples of microbial influence remind us that transformation doesn't require struggle or force, but can instead emerge naturally from the optimization of our biological systems. Like ripples spreading across a still pond, these changes touch every aspect of life with gentle persistence, creating waves of improvement that continue to expand and evolve over time. In recognizing these ripples, we gain appreciation for the remarkable sophistication of the biological systems that support not just our survival, but our flourishing as conscious, creative, and connected beings. In the serene quiet of your evening rest, imagine standing in an ancient forest where every tree, every plant, every microorganism exists in perfect harmony with all the others. No single species dominates or destroys, but rather each contributes its unique gifts to the thriving complexity of the whole ecosystem. As you settle deeper into tranquility, we'll explore how the microbial influences on behavior and consciousness exist within a vast ecosystem of biological interactions, where countless species work together to create the rich tapestry of mental and emotional experience that makes life both stable and endlessly fascinating. The ecosystem of microbial influence extends far beyond any single organism or simple host-parasite relationship. Instead, it encompasses entire communities of microorganisms, each with their own specialties and capabilities, all working together in intricate networks of cooperation and communication. Like instruments in a vast biological orchestra, each species contributes its own voice to create harmonies that are far more complex and beautiful than what any individual organism could achieve alone. The foundation of this ecosystem lies in the remarkable diversity of microbial communities that inhabit different regions of the human body. The gut microbiome alone contains hundreds of different bacterial species, each with its own preferences, capabilities, and ways of communicating with both the host and other microorganisms. Some specialize in producing specific neurotransmitters, others focus on metabolizing particular nutrients into bioactive compounds, and still others serve as mediators and coordinators, helping to maintain balance and communication throughout the community. The communication networks within these microbial ecosystems are as sophisticated as any biological system on Earth. Microorganisms use a process called quorum sensing to monitor the density and activity of their own species and others in their community. Through the release and detection of chemical signals, they can coordinate their activities, adjust their metabolic processes, and respond collectively to changes in their environment. This communication allows microbial communities to function as unified ecosystems rather than random collections of competing organisms. The chemical vocabulary used in these microbial conversations includes hundreds of different signaling molecules, each carrying specific information about environmental conditions, resource availability, and community dynamics. Some signals indicate when it's time to increase the production of certain neurotransmitters. Others coordinate the timing of metabolic activities, and still others help maintain the delicate balance between different microbial populations. This chemical communication creates a level of coordination that allows microbial communities to respond to their host's needs with remarkable precision and sensitivity. The temporal coordination within microbial ecosystems reveals another layer of sophisticated organization. Different species often operate on different time scales and activity cycles, creating a kind of biological shift work where various organisms take turns providing different types of influence and support. Some microorganisms are most active during the day, supporting alertness and cognitive function, while others increase their activity in the evening, promoting relaxation and restorative processes. This temporal division of labor ensures that the host receives appropriate biological support throughout the daily cycle without any single type of influence becoming overwhelming or disruptive. The circadian coordination of microbial activities helps reinforce healthy sleep-wake cycles while providing optimal neurochemical support for both active and restorative periods. The result is a more stable and predictable biological rhythm that supports overall health and well-being. The spatial organization of microbial ecosystems is equally impressive, with different communities occupying distinct niches throughout the body and specializing in different types of host interaction. The gut microbiome, for example, has direct access to the vagus nerve and can influence brain function through neural pathways. The skin microbiome interacts with local immune systems and can affect stress responses. Even the respiratory and oral microbiomes contribute their own influences through various metabolic and immune pathways. This spatial specialization allows for multiple simultaneous channels of biological influence, creating redundancy and robustness in the overall system. If one pathway is disrupted or compromised, other microbial communities can compensate by increasing their own contributions. This biological resilience helps maintain stable psychological and neurological function, even when facing challenges or changes in the environment. The cooperative relationships between different microbial species often involve complex partnerships where each organism provides something that benefits the others. Some bacteria produce nutrients that feed beneficial fungi, while the fungi provide enzymes that help the bacteria metabolize complex compounds. Other relationships involve more subtle forms of cooperation, such as one species creating environmental conditions that are optimal for another species to produce important neurotransmitters. These cooperative networks can involve dozens of different species, each playing their own role in maintaining the overall health and function of the ecosystem. The result is a level of biological sophistication that rivals the most complex ecosystems found in nature. The microbial communities within a single human body represent one of the most diverse and interactive biological systems on the planet. The resilience of microbial ecosystems comes from their incredible diversity and redundancy. If one species declines or disappears, other species can often compensate by taking on additional roles or modifying their activities. This biological backup system helps ensure that essential functions are maintained even when the ecosystem faces challenges such as illness, stress, or dietary changes. The adaptive capacity of these ecosystems is equally remarkable. Microbial communities can modify their composition and activity patterns in response to changing circumstances, developing new capabilities, and forming new partnerships as needed. This adaptability allows the ecosystem to evolve and improve over time, constantly optimizing its ability to support host health and well-being. The relationship between microbial ecosystems and host genetics reveals another layer of complexity in these biological partnerships. Different individuals have different genetic predispositions that affect which microbial species can successfully colonize and thrive in their bodies. At the same time, microbial influences can affect gene expression in the host, creating a dynamic feedback loop between genetics and microbiology. This gene-microbe interaction means that each person develops their own unique microbial ecosystem that is specifically adapted to their individual biology and life circumstances. The result is a highly personalized form of biological influence that is perfectly tailored to each individual's needs and capabilities. This personalization helps explain why different people may respond differently to the same microbial influences and why individual variation in personality and behavior is so common and natural. The developmental aspects of microbial ecosystems reveal how these communities change and evolve throughout the lifespan. The microbial communities present in infancy are quite different from those found in adulthood, and they continue to change and adapt as individuals age. These developmental changes reflect both the changing needs of the host and the ongoing evolution of the microbial communities themselves. Early life experiences play a crucial role in shaping the development of microbial ecosystems. Factors such as birth method, feeding practices, antibiotic exposure, and early social experiences all influence which microbial species successfully establish themselves and how the overall ecosystem develops. These early influences can have lasting effects on personality, behavior, and mental health throughout life. The environmental sensitivity of microbial ecosystems allows them to respond to changes in diet, lifestyle, stress levels, and social circumstances. Travel to new locations can introduce new microbial species, while changes in diet can alter the composition and activity of existing communities. Social interactions can even facilitate the exchange of beneficial microorganisms between individuals, creating a kind of biological networking that connects communities of people through their shared microbial influences. The seasonal variations in microbial ecosystems reflect their sensitivity to environmental changes and their role in helping hosts adapt to changing conditions. Many microbial communities show seasonal patterns in their composition and activity, supporting different types of biological functions during different times of year. These seasonal adaptations help hosts maintain optimal function and well-being throughout the annual cycle. The research into microbial ecosystems has revealed that many mental health conditions involve disruptions or imbalances in these complex biological communities. Depression, anxiety, autism, and other neurological conditions often correlate with specific patterns of microbial community dysfunction. Understanding these relationships is opening up new approaches to treatment that focus on restoring healthy microbial ecosystem function rather than simply treating symptoms. The therapeutic potential of supporting healthy microbial ecosystems extends beyond treating existing conditions to optimizing normal psychological and cognitive function. By understanding how these communities work together to support mental health and well-being, researchers are developing new approaches to enhancing human potential and resilience that work with natural biological systems rather than against them. The lifestyle factors that support healthy microbial ecosystems include dietary diversity, regular exercise, adequate sleep, stress management, and social connection. These factors create optimal conditions for beneficial microbial communities to thrive while also supporting the overall health of the ecosystem. Understanding these relationships empowers individuals to take active roles in cultivating their own optimal microbial communities. The social aspects of microbial ecosystems reveal how these communities can be influenced by and can influence our relationships with others. Close social contacts often share similar microbial communities, and social interactions can facilitate the exchange of beneficial microorganisms. This biological dimension of social connection adds another layer to our understanding of how relationships affect health and well-being. The cultural implications of microbial ecosystems suggest that different populations around the world may have developed distinct microbial communities that contribute to cultural differences in personality, behavior, and social organization. The geographic variation in microbial communities reflects both environmental factors and cultural practices related to diet, lifestyle, and social interaction. The ecological perspective on microbial influence emphasizes the importance of maintaining diversity and balance, rather than trying to eliminate or control specific organisms. Like any healthy ecosystem, microbial communities thrive when they maintain their natural diversity and are allowed to function according to their evolved patterns of cooperation and communication. The conservation aspects of microbial ecosystems highlight the importance of protecting these biological communities from unnecessary disruption while supporting their natural functions. Modern lifestyle factors such as overuse of antibiotics, highly processed diets, and chronic stress can disrupt microbial ecosystems in ways that affect both individual and population health. As you rest in the peaceful sanctuary of your room, surrounded by the invisible ecosystem of microbial communities that support your mental and physical well-being, let yourself appreciate the remarkable complexity and beauty of these biological partnerships. You are not just an individual, but a walking ecosystem, home to communities of organisms that have co-evolved with humanity over millions of years to create the sophisticated biological foundation that supports consciousness, emotion, and all the rich complexity of human experience. The ecosystem of microbial influence reminds us that health and well-being emerge from the harmonious interaction of countless biological partners working together in cooperative networks of incredible sophistication. These communities represent one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenge of creating and maintaining the complex biological conditions necessary for advanced consciousness and rich emotional experience. In recognizing and supporting these ecosystems, we participate in one of the most ancient and successful partnerships in the history of life on Earth. In the gentle comfort of your evening rest, imagine looking back through vast stretches of time to witness the most patient and persistent dance in the history of life itself. Picture millions of years unfolding like pages in an ancient book, each one telling the story of how different forms of life learned to live together, to influence each other, and to create partnerships that transformed both partners into something more beautiful and capable than either could have become alone. As you settle into deeper tranquility, we'll explore the remarkable evolutionary journey that has led to the sophisticated biological partnerships between humans and microorganisms, a story of cooperation and mutual development that spans the entire history of complex life. The evolutionary dance between humans and their microbial partners began long before humans existed as a species. The ancestors of these relationships stretch back hundreds of millions of years to the earliest days when complex multicellular organisms first began experimenting with symbiotic relationships. Even the most primitive animals discovered that forming partnerships with microorganisms could provide advantages in digestion, immunity, and environmental adaptation that would have been impossible to achieve through their own biological capabilities alone. As vertebrates evolved and developed increasingly complex nervous systems, the opportunities for beneficial microbial partnerships expanded dramatically. The evolution of the gut-brain axis, the communication pathway between the digestive system and the brain, created new possibilities for microorganisms to influence neural function and behavior. This evolutionary innovation transformed simple digestive partnerships into sophisticated systems of neurochemical communication and behavioral influence. The coevolution of humans and their microbial partners has been a process of mutual adaptation and enhancement that has shaped both parties in profound ways. As human brains became larger and more complex, requiring more sophisticated neurochemical support systems, Microbial partners evolve increasingly refined abilities to produce and modulate neurotransmitters. The microorganisms didn't just adapt to living with humans. They became active participants in supporting the neurological complexity that makes human consciousness possible. This evolutionary partnership created a feedback loop of mutual enhancement. As microorganisms became better at supporting neural function, humans became capable of more sophisticated behaviors and more complex social organizations. These enhanced human capabilities, in turn, created new opportunities and environments for microbial partners, driving further evolutionary refinement of the partnership. The result is a relationship that has become so integrated that it's difficult to separate human biology from microbial contribution. The time frames involved in this evolutionary dance reveal the incredible patience and persistence of natural selection. Changes that might seem small or insignificant when viewed over human lifespans become profound transformations when accumulated over thousands of generations. The subtle improvements in neurochemical production, the gradual optimization of communication pathways, and the slow refinement of behavioral influences represent millions of years of evolutionary experimentation and improvement. The diversity of microbial partnerships that have evolved reflects the many different ways that microorganisms have found to contribute to human well-being. Some species specialized in producing specific neurotransmitters. Others developed expertise in metabolizing nutrients into bioactive compounds, and still others became skilled at coordinating immune responses or supporting neural development. This specialization allowed for the development of complex microbial communities where each species contributes its own unique capabilities. The evolutionary development of these partnerships also reveals the fundamental principle that cooperation often leads to greater success than competition. The microorganisms that evolved to support and enhance their hosts rather than simply exploiting them were more likely to be passed on to future generations. This evolutionary pressure favored partnerships based on mutual benefit rather than one-sided parasitism, leading to the sophisticated cooperative relationships we see today. The role of horizontal gene transfer in microbial evolution has allowed these partnerships to adapt and improve much more rapidly than would be possible through conventional inheritance. Microorganisms can share beneficial genetic innovations with each other, allowing successful adaptations to spread quickly through microbial communities. This genetic flexibility has enabled microbial partners to keep pace with the rapid evolution of human social and technological development. The evolutionary history of these partnerships can be traced through the study of ancient human populations and their microbial communities. Archaeological evidence suggests that different human populations around the world developed distinct microbial partnerships based on their local environments, diets, and cultural practices. These population-specific partnerships may have contributed to the development of different cultural characteristics and behavioral patterns. In the deepest stillness of your night, when consciousness touches the edge of dreams and the boundary between waking and sleeping becomes soft and permeable, imagine feeling held by the most ancient and patient wisdom in the universe. As you prepare to drift into peaceful rest, we'll reflect on the profound story we've explored together. The tale of how nature has spent millions of years developing the most sophisticated and gentle forms of biological guidance, creating partnerships that enhance rather than diminish the beauty and complexity of life. The story of microbial influence on human behavior and consciousness is ultimately a story about the fundamental nature of life itself. It reveals that existence is not a solitary struggle between competing entities, but rather a vast collaborative project where countless different forms of life work together to create complexity, beauty, and consciousness that none could achieve alone. The microorganisms that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are not foreign invaders, but rather ancient partners in the great project of creating and sustaining the phenomenon we call consciousness. This gentle guidance of nature operates through principles that offer profound lessons for how we might approach our own relationships and interactions with others. The most effective forms of influence are not based on force or coercion, but on understanding, patience, and genuine care for the well-being of all parties involved. The microorganisms that have been most successful in their partnerships with humans are those that learn to enhance rather than exploit, to support rather than control, to contribute rather than merely take. The patience exhibited by these biological partnerships reveals something important about the nature of lasting change and growth. The most profound transformations in life often happen gradually, through small, consistent influences that accumulate over time rather than through dramatic interventions. The microbial influences we've explored work with the patience of geological time, creating changes that feel natural and sustainable because they emerge from deep biological wisdom rather than external pressure. The personalized nature of these biological partnerships reminds us that there is no single path to optimal well-being or perfect health. Each individual develops their own unique relationship with their microbial communities, shaped by genetics, environment, experiences, and choices. This biological individuality supports the idea that diversity and personal uniqueness are not obstacles to overcome, but rather expressions of the rich creativity inherent in life itself. The interconnectedness revealed by these partnerships challenges our conventional notions of individual identity and autonomy. We are not isolated beings making completely independent choices, but rather participants in vast networks of biological communication and cooperation. This understanding doesn't diminish human agency, but rather expands our appreciation for the complex web of relationships and influences that make consciousness and free will possible. The gentle guidance of nature through microbial partnerships offers hope for developing more sustainable and harmonious approaches to mental health, personal development, and social organization. By working with rather than against our biological nature, by supporting rather than suppressing our microbial partners, we can create conditions that promote optimal function and well-being for all forms of life. As you rest in the peaceful darkness, surrounded by the invisible wisdom of countless microbial partners, let yourself feel held by this ancient network of biological cooperation. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought and emotion emerges from partnerships that stretch back through millions of years of evolutionary refinement. You are not alone, but are part of something vast and beautiful and patient that has been working for eons to create the conditions necessary for consciousness, love, and wonder. The gentle guidance of nature reminds us that we are all part of an ongoing story of cooperation and mutual enhancement that continues to unfold with each passing day. The microbial influences that shape our thoughts and behaviors are expressions of life's fundamental commitment to growth, adaptation, and the creation of ever more beautiful and complex forms of existence. In recognizing and honoring these partnerships, we participate in one of the most ancient and successful experiments in the history of life. Rest now in the knowledge that you are held and supported by biological wisdom that is older than humanity itself, patient as stone, and gentle as the softest breeze. Let the quiet activities of your microbial partners lull you into peaceful sleep, knowing that they will continue their ancient work of support and enhancement while you rest, preparing you for whatever tomorrow may bring. Sleep peacefully, cradled by the gentle guidance of nature itself.